Did you know that Squarespace are offering a free trial and 10% off your first purchase if you use our discount code, squarespace.com/TrekCulture? What are you waiting for?
When you're a Trekkie long enough, you start to expect certain things. For example, the colours that the characters wear and their uniforms. Now, the big switch, of course, came between the original series and pretty much everything that followed, but we're talking about even within those series. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here are 10 weird times Star Trek characters changed divisions. Number 10. Lieutenant Leslie. Just where did he really work? Eddie Paskey is one of the most recognisable faces in Star Trek the original series, though his voice was scarcely heard. He was more than likely stationed in the background of a scene, and more often than not, he donned the scarlet target of the red shirt divisions. Yet, this has to be said for the man, Leslie made it, damn it. He bears the honour of being one of the few recurring cast members to wear the colour red, but there may well be a reason for this. He wasn't confined to that single shade. Throughout his tenure on the Enterprise, Leslie would be seen in both blue and gold as well. And while this may or may not have been the plan all along, it is entirely possible the division changes saved the officer's life. Leslie would be one of the earliest examples of a division change that gave us pause. We like things a certain way, don't go changing it on us now. Number 9. Sulu, head of the Blue Man Group. With the exception of Mirror Mirror, Hikaru Sulu was almost always in gold while serving aboard the Enterprise. To address the monster maroon in the room, those uniforms will rear their heads on another list, so for now, let us put them to the side. This is actually a case of going back in time to see the change. While audiences are mostly familiar with Sulu sitting at the helm in his command gold colours, he was in fact introduced to us wearing science blue. George Takei made his debut in Star Trek all the way back in Where No Man Has Gone Before, the second pass at the pilot episode of the franchise. Here, he was introduced as the head of the Astro Sciences Division, called to the bridge as the ship encountered the great barrier that surrounded the Milky Way galaxy. Though Sulu didn't have much to do in this episode, it is so strange to see him on the original Enterprise wearing anything other than the gold we know and love so well. Number 8. Commander Data, First Officer. This is actually one of the more unusual entries on this list, as Data received his promotion and demotion in two versions of reality. First, he was promoted to First Officer in the years following William T. Riker's ascension to captaincy of the Enterprise D. This saw him remove his gold operations uniform and don the then standard Command Red. But wait, no, that's not right, because that turned out to only be a holographic program, conceived by the alien child Barash in the episode Future Imperfect, designed to encourage Riker to remain with the child. So let's scratch that. Flash forward to the arrival of Edward Jellicoe, late of the USS Cairo, who took over for Captain Picard once the latter was captured by the Cardassian. To put it mildly, he didn't like Riker, not one little bit. This led to Riker being relieved of duty, with Data taking his place as First Officer. This again saw a costume change for the android, and while it felt slightly wrong, this one had more to do with Data being put in the unfair position of taking over for Riker, rather than a simple colour shift. Number 7. Commander Worf, bloody pick one. What can we say about Worf, son of Mo? The man changes colours like we change our socks, which, now think about it, may be a part of it. First, this Klingon made his debut in Command Red, donning the spine-damaging red jumpsuit of the first and second seasons of The Next Generation. Following the death of Tasha Yar, he would make the switch to Security Division Gold, colour he would retain until the Way of the Warrior. In Deep Space Nine, Worf would see a colour reversion, back to red, though it came with a promotion. As Strategic Operations Officer aboard the station, he was responsible for coordinating the efforts against the Klingons, though his role would also see him serve as Captain of the Defiant, second only to Sisko. Star Trek Picard would again see him shift, back now, to gold. However, this came with a long-delayed promotion to Captain, making him one of the few high-rank officers to wear gold in the 24th and 25th centuries. Number 6. Wesley Crusher, travelling between departments. History has finally allowed a re-evaluation of Wesley Crusher, who was unfairly maligned in his early years aboard the Enterprise. The character was something of a stand-in for both Gene Roddenberry and Eugene Roddenberry, though this led to conflict between real-life father and son. On screen, Wesley was the wunderkind. He was there to offer a viewpoint for a younger audience, though unfortunately with all the nuance of a break to the face. This would thankfully soften as the second season debuted. Wesley was offered the role of acting ensign, which saw a grey jumpsuit as part of his unofficial uniform. He would then be given a field commission as time went on, thus leading to a Red Command Division ensign's uniform. Though he would predominantly be seen in red for his tenure, there are tales of what might have been. Parallels sees him promoted to lieutenant, donning Operations Gold. This, being an alternate universe, could be discounted, but harder to discount is his appearance in Star Trek Nemesis. While most of his scenes were left on the cutting room floor, he is certainly present in Operations Yellow dress uniform at Riker and Troy's wedding. He may have subsequently left to go travelling, but for a time, this wunderkind may well have been the next Jordi La Forge. Speaking of... Number 5. Jordi La Forge. He'll sort this nonsense out. LeVar Burton was introduced to Star Trek audiences as the con officer aboard the Enterprise D, matching Worf with his skin-tight red onesie, a uniform he would wear for the entirety of the show's first season. While his debut year wouldn't see too many departures for the digital-sighted officer, he would ascend to command of the ship in Arsenal of Freedom, ordering the ship to separate and saving the day from the Minusian weapons. Nice. The second year saw a very important fix to the Enterprise's staffing issue. For the first year, there seemed to be a revolving door of chief engineers, so much so that only one of them got more than one appearance that year. Someone must have noticed La Forge's mettle though, as the child sees him in the role he would excel in for the remainder of the Next Generation series and films. Chief Engineer La Forge had a much better ring to it, and the man looked fantastic in gold. This allowed, a bit further down the line, for a fateful meeting of the engineers. Scotty himself came aboard the Enterprise D to give his 2 cents on La Forge's way of doing things, and, for the most part, he gave the younger man, by 120 years or so, his blessing. Number 4. Captain Picard. Why so blue? Full disclosure, Tapestry remains one of my favourite episodes, for a multitude of reasons. The interplay between Picard and Q, as well as the return of the Monster Maroon uniforms, though again, those aren't the focus of this list. With the exception of a scene between Picard and Botanides, which was as inappropriate when it aired as it is now, it's close to a flawless episode. Good ones always have to have the most glaring issues. Anyway, Tapestry is Star Trek's take on It's a Wonderful Life, though Q probably doesn't get his wings at the end of this one. Picard is killed in the opening scene, spoiler, but rather than disappear into the great beyond, he finds himself face to face with Q. The episode looks like it's going to take a comedic turn from here, whereas it's actually quite the opposite. Q offers him the chance to change the events of his life that led him to his fateful day, so Picard acquiesces with dire consequences. After foiling a Nausicaan attack that originally cost him his heart, Picard finds himself back on the Enterprise as a lieutenant wearing blue. One might think us biased against the colour, but everything about this is wrong. The entire point of the episode is to show that, despite the mistakes we feel that we make along the way, we are the sum of our experiences. While there would be nothing wrong with a career in the sciences, had he chosen it, Picard is faced with a life wherein he took no chances, therefore he never pushed himself to his potential. Having known a life where he at least did what he felt was his best, even one that led to his early death, Picard couldn't stomach a life of what-ifs and wherefores. He asks Q to change things back to the way they were, something that Q, in his infinite wisdom, knows to be the best. After all, when a god says you look good in red, maybe take their word for it. Number 3. EMH. Please state the nature of the command emergency. When dreams become reality, holograms will cheer. Such is the situation here, as the emergency medical hologram received one of the biggest jumps in rank for any character in the franchise. That is to say, he went from having no rank at all to becoming the commander of Voyager when the situation arose. This saw the EMH switch from his usual blue medical uniform to a fully pipped command red, although the first time this happened, it was but a daydream concocted by a very bored hologram. The Hierarchy, an alien race who would attempt to spy on the ship, accidentally tapped into the EMH's dreams of a more exciting life, believing him to be the dangerous tactical commander he imagined himself to be. While that would end up saving the ship, it also gave Captain Janeway the idea to actually create an ECH. That is to say, when the ship was robbed of its crew in the two-parter Workforce, Janeway was able to transfer command to the ECH before things became too dire. Though life may have begun as a dream, seeing those 4 pips blossom into life would send shivers down all audiences' spines. Number 2. Miles O'Brien. His wardrobe must suffer. You have to feel for Miles. There was hardly a year that went by where he wasn't put through some horrific torture, mostly to get a response out of the audience. The thing is, this tactic was a little too effective. O'Brien was simply one of the most popular characters in the franchise, so the writers enjoyed putting him through hell simply because they know that tears would flow. He managed to escape mostly this fate while he donned the red jumpsuit of early Next Generation, moving over into the gold of the transporter room. In fact, he was so good at his job that he would survive the jumpsuit to solid colour change that came with the 3rd season. Moving on over to Deep Space Nine, he became Chief of Operations, which you would assume meant gold for life, right? Not necessarily so, especially when the Defiant found itself thrown back in time thanks to a dastardly smooth-headed Klingon operative named Arn Darvin, and the crew were forced to infiltrate the crew of the original USS Enterprise. Well, anyone familiar with Scotty would know that engineers didn't wear gold in those days. They were a strictly red division, as though the universe wanted them all dead. While O'Brien did survive the events of Trials and Tribulations, he wasn't without injury. He received a shining black eye for his troubles, courtesy of one of the most famous fistfights in Federation history. Number 1. Ensign Rutherford, doing it on a dare. While the multi-talented Samantha Rutherford certainly didn't take his responsibilities lightly, the very second episode of Star Trek Lower Decks sees him change between divisions more than I change my socks. Yes, I made the joke twice, sue me. Bouncing from gold to red to finally blue, Rutherford does the full spectrum, and only one kindergarten class had to suffer because of it. Rutherford's friendship with Devana Tendi is reaching legendary levels, with Envoys offering an early example as to why. He continues to switch up his career path simply to be nearer to her, though, as is stated early and often, there is no ulterior motive here. Rutherford and Tendi are one of the most popular platonic friendships in the franchise. Check out our biggest bromances list for a bit more on that. Though the Tenderford shippers may have to wait another day, seeing Rutherford so effortlessly mastering each and every division colour makes the cosplay community more than a little jealous. Now, I'm not suggesting that I wished I look as good as Rutherford in these different colours. Okay, full disclosure, yes. Yes, I do.
Hello, I'm Duncan Rillick, no relation, and my friend Sean Blass has been rushed to Starfleet Medical, so he's asked me to tell you about Squarespace. Squarespace allows you to build your own fantastic website, like he did for GTN. Its state-of-the-art template designer allows you to build what works best for you. Anyone can use it, even people like me, who may not be the sharpest typo in the spanner box. If you would like to try this deal, you should go to squarespace.com/TrekCulture and you get 10% off your first purchase. Cheap. When you go, tell them Rillick sent you. No relation. Good luck, Sean Blass. Hope everything goes okay with the toenail.
That's everything for this list, folks. What did you think? Is there any other times that people changed up their uniforms and blew your mind? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget that you can get in touch with us over on Twitter at TrekCulture. We're on Instagram at TrekCultureYT, or on TikTok and Blue Sky at TrekCulture as well. You are awesome and you are wonderful. Thank you so much to the amazing Phil for editing this list and making it look good. I will see you soon. Make sure that you live long and prosper, and thank you so much for dropping by. Cheers!